Yo, what's the worst role in Wolvesville? Maybe the Folkman? Or the Zombie? Or what about Seer? Well, regardless of how you judge them, you will most likely have some disagreements with this video. There are a couple of ways to judge, but for me, factors like creativity, balance and originality are at least as important as strength. Let's go to number 10.
Number 10. Serial Killer.
Let's start with the least worst role, if that makes sense. The serial killer. By no means this is a bad role, but at the moment it is the base role of the cannibal and that makes it a problem. You see, every main team like Werewolf, Village, Solo except for solo voting has its base role and every single role is some variation of that. The Seer is just a regular villager that can check a player's role each night. A Judy werewolf is just a regular werewolf, but upon dying it can take someone with him. The regular werewolf and the regular villager are therefore not appearing as base role of any roles. However, the serial killer does, and as a result, the advanced role, namely the cannibal, is just a serial killer with the ability to stall kills. And yes, you can make an argument that an arsonist or bomber cannot replicate a night 1 kill from the serial killer, but they are both significantly stronger at the end, and therefore the serial killer should take spot 10 until it is removed as base role of the cannibal and we can truly label it as a regular killer.
Number 9. Illusionist.
This role takes spot 9 because it's weak. You see, if you want to kill, your special gimmick of being able to enchant players is totally gone. With the Illusionist, you need to either sacrifice your killing ability in order to make most out of your illusions, or you need to just not play with the illusion ability at all, at which point it is actually weaker than the serial killer because you kill later than the serial killer. This role really deserves a buff because in reality this role has a lot of potential, but as of right now it is not correctly balanced.
Number 8. Flower Child.
Like Wolf Pacifist, this role is there to be a counterpart of another role. The Guardian Wolf in this case. I do like the Guardian Wolf, but the Flower Child is meh. If Flower Child is in game and no Guardian Wolf is there, then well, maybe it can be useful, but I rarely see a Flower Child actually saving a good role, apart from during the shadow voting. Normally this role is accompanied by the way better Guardian Wolf and then you don't even get trusted most of the times because you are such an easy scapegoat for the Guardian Wolf. I don't know about you, but as Flower Child, you also feel really weak. That is not necessarily a problem, but it kinda does become a problem when you become scapegoat number 1. Literally the only use this has is against the Shadow Wolf, but then the Pacifist probably comes more in clutch, right?
Number 7. Wolf Pacifist.
The Wolf Pacifist, although it's not broken, is very high on this list because it's unoriginal and it's there to be a counterpart of another role, the Pacifist. The Wolf Pacifist is a strange role, since revealing someone's role is normally speaking a very counterproductive move for the werewolves, but at least it comes with the reward that a teammate can be saved, and a voting session can be lost. It is not very inspiring though, and if you say out loud, Wolf Pacifist, then you probably think of a way more pacifist creature than this werewolf, or you think of a literal merge of a werewolf and a pacifist, probably just that. The latter is probably what the creator of this role also thought, since
what if we combine a wolf and a pacifist? Well, a wolf pacifist that likes to eat human beings but also is pacifist?
Well, lore-wise, that does not make sense. Good thing about this role is that since you can give out an advantage to the village by cleaning things up, you always sacrifice one good for another. You could technically reveal Solo Killer too, but then that might mean that you can't lynch him yet, and of course, you help the village.
Number 6. Pacifist.
Well, yes, it does come more in clutch, but speaking of the Pacifist, it takes number 6 on this list. This role is there for a different reason, namely its anti-social deduction ability. You can literally reveal a player's role and there is no way that the village will ever forget. Are you revealed full? Well, good luck choosing who to support. You will not win anymore. No information and Passy reveals you? Yes, you the solo killer? Well, screw you. You will be killed next. Or what about a pacifist ruining your voting session by accident when an evil was exposed by Seer? Simply by revealing you, the medium, at random. Yes, that is really annoying and you will be sitting there, waiting for an action lacking day to be killed next night anyways. The pacifist was on this list back then, and even though this role can be extremely useful in some custom game setups, it is at least as annoying in your average game.
Number 5. Precedent.
The President also still belongs to this list. Back in 2020 it took a 10th place, so it's familiar with a bad place. Although the President adds this cool gimmick of the evils literally being able to win together, it still is a boring role to play as, since you have no abilities. Also, when it comes to the win condition, there is a reason why we don't see the President as a role in any game mode except for custom games. Whenever protection is gone, the President can simply flee and then the whole purpose of the role is wasted. Maybe one day the President can be fixed, for example by actually giving it a voting related ability and perhaps not giving an instant victory whenever it dies. As of right now though, this role is broken and that is actually already the case since its introduction 4 years ago.
Number 4. Seer.
The Seer is here and they call you out. A lot of new players, and I guess players that don't play social deduction games but rather protect the Seer or we lose, will hate the stake. But the Seer is in principle all against the good game of social deduction. It can debunk any fake claims by giving exact rules, it can find the fool, it can find well anything. The Seer is similar to the Pacifist in that there is no way to counter the Seer's evil, and as you have noticed, that is an important aspect of balance in a game like Wolvesville. Seers also added a slight element of RNG to the game more than any other informer, that too. New players tend to like this role, but as soon as you grow up and start to appreciate the challenge and you start valuing good plays from evil roles to trick you, well, then you are definitely going to agree that the Seer is an unfun role at least to play against.
Number 3. Violinist.
The Violinist is the newest role in this video and it pains me to say this is the worst role I've seen in a while. Of course, apart from number 2 and 1. It is so weak that it probably feels like a true downgrade when you unlock this role as an advanced role of the Aura Seer instead of the Spirit Seer or whatever role rolls out next. You can only acquire information if someone is killed that day, at least as of making this video, and you only get to know if they shared the team with the lynched player or not. If you are the only informer in game, that basically forces you to lynch for the sake of lynching and not for the sake of killing an exposed evil, so that you just hope that you can get some useful information next night. It can't even see the exact team of the checked player. Like, imagine you check someone after a villager was killed and they show a happy face. Well, now you still don't know if they are werewolf, serial killer or even fool. This rule is so weak that it has to be mentioned here. And honestly, I know there's a lot of controversial picks here and there in this video, but I bet a huge majority would agree with putting the Violinist on this list.
Number 2. Fortune Teller.
The Fortune Teller is a custom games exclusive role and that is with a reason. First of all, because it has no advanced or base role, but mostly because it is unbalanced. In case you don't know this role so well, you can essentially give 2 cards to players that they can use to reveal their roles. If you're not 100% idiot, you give one of your cards to someone who genuinely wants to prove their role because they are some sort of scapegoat like Beast Hunter and don't want to be abused by werewolves, and the other card can be used to force someone to show or get lynched. This role is really annoying to play against, and unlike Seer, which at least makes the game more accessible for beginners, the Fortune Teller is not useful in that way either, and is really hard to counter. You really need to give your cards to 2 bad roles, and a werewolf should claim Fortune Teller, and you should not be checked if you want to choke with this role. That is how strong it is.
Number 1. Zombie.
Despite my ranking 10 random roles video in which I put this on an 8th place out of 10, I take my words back already. Back when I recorded that video, the zombie DK mechanic was pretty fresh in my head and I really thought it would balance this role out much more. Well, it somewhat helped, but it's not enough. Typically zombies either receive a lot of hate or everyone wants to join them for some reason. The zombie was and is the most annoying role in the game. It changes games for the worse, and if the village and zombies merge, then the werewolves just don't have anyone to collaborate with and are chanceless. Also, have you noticed how long zombie games last? It's not uncommon to see games of 15 minutes or longer when people let the zombies take over, and oh, it is boring as it can get. This rule needs a fix, still, especially now that it is an advanced role of the bandit and people genuinely use it. To my despise, I had to use it too in order to get zombie footage, but that will not be voluntarily. Now, what 10 roles do you despise most in Wolvesville? Let me know in the comments. Now, if you want to know what the 10 best roles are, then check out this video here at the end. You can also watch any other top 10 about Wolvesville, like ranking 10 random roles that I talked about earlier, simply by clicking on the playlist. For now, I will see you later and don't be a traitor. Goodbye.